Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out today. And I'd like to hand over to our wonderful leader, Dr. Oloremi Adewale.
Good morning to all, and a very warm welcome to the 2022 International Women's Day event hosted by the Women Focus Canada, Inc. My name is Dr. Oloremi Adewale. I am the CEO and the founder of Women Focus Canada, Inc. As both a healthcare practitioner with over 20 years of experience and a woman, I am most excited to welcome you to a day of festivities and motivating speeches. The theme for today's event is gender inequality in caregiving. This is an especially pertinent topic in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has further exacerbated the gender gap in caregiving duties. I would like to begin this event by acknowledging the grace of God all around me. I thank God for giving me the strength to keep going. I also want to acknowledge my colleagues who have worked hard to arrange and organize a fantastic program for you. Big thanks to the Women Focus Canada directors, the committee members, the work group, the speakers, the moderators, the entertainers, the patrons, and the volunteers for all their contributions. And of course, thank you to our amazing participants for joining us on this monumental day as we celebrate the achievements of women all over the world. Permit me to draw in reference to war and the effects of war. War is a serious global public health concern, as war destroys the society and economic development of nations. War destroys communities and families, especially women, children, the elderly, and the disabled. As we enter the third year of the pandemic, we acknowledge that COVID-19 has not had an equal impact on men and women. Compared to men, women in Canada have spent nearly 50 more hours per week on childcare duties. With the closures of schools and childcare centers, women with children were forced to juggle caregiving with work or stay home from work to take care of children. This increase in unpaid labor has taken a toll on women's mental health, especially for racialized women and essential workers. Oxfam Canada reports that 40% of women report feeling anxious, stressed, and depressed. I continue to be inspired by the resilience that women have shown in the face of such adversity. Women are leading in fighting against COVID-19, not only at home, but also at work. Do you know that the head of Pfizer Vaccine Research and Development is a woman? Yes, Dr. Katrin Jansen. Dr. Katrin Jansen is a senior vice president and head of vaccine research and development at Pfizer Inc. and a member of Pfizer's worldwide. I am sure you know of our very own medical officer of health for the city of Toronto, Dr. Eileen De Vela, who has been our city's fearless leader. Although we are unable to gather together physically, we are all gathered in spirit to celebrate the strong women in our lives. I encourage you all to join me in dedicating this year's International Women's Day to a woman who has played an influential role in your lives. Personally, I am dedicating today's to my mom. Without the late Chief Mrs. Dorcas Bologe, I would not have been, and I would not have become the woman I am today. Thanks to her perseverance and inspiring qualities, I found a role model to show me the kind of woman I want to become. I'm sure you have similar women in your lives. Please celebrate the women in your lives and their legacies. For me, International Women's Day is not only a chance to remark on the successes of women, but also to reflect on the journey ahead as we strive for gender equality for women everywhere. Let us not forget that even before pandemic, women spend more time than men in household caring work. Now, Statistics Canada reports that pandemic-related school closures have forced 64% of women to help children with homework, while only 19% of men are responsible for this task. Gender inequality in caregiving is just one example of the battle that our sisters are facing. While I can name many more statistics, I do not want to dwell on the challenges. Rather, I want to call on each one of you presenting here and each one of you present today to consider how you can play a role in the women's movement and further the cause of gender equality. As we dream in an equal world where all women and girls have equal opportunity to learn and grow, let us reflect on the actions we can take to transform this vision into a reality. In case you need inspiration, we have an especially exciting lineup of speakers today who embed these ideas. As we wait to hear their wise words and to learn from them, I will take a moment to highlight a few examples of women who have made history in the past year and paved the way for all of us. Chloe Zhao, a Chinese-born filmmaker, is the first Asian woman to win a Golden Globe for Best Actor. Vice President Kamala Harris is the first woman ever to serve as Vice President of the United States of America. In the world of sports, Simone Biles is the only woman to ever attempt and complete a complex and dangerous Yoshiko at the US Classics. These women have shown us just how much we can accomplish when we are surrounded by a support system of other women. And of course, we need the support from men as well. Behind these successful women are countless other women who uplift, mentor, and support one another. I thank these women, and I will walk in their footsteps to continue breaking ceilings. As I am sure you are eagerly waiting for the special program we have prepared for you today, I will leave you with one of my favorite quotations by former First Lady Michelle Obama. She said, "There is no limit to what we as women can accomplish." I thank you and God bless you. At this time, I will turn it over to my sister, Rowena Power, for the pre-poll question.
Thank you very much, Dr. Remy. So I'm about to share a quick poll. We would appreciate it if you participated in it, and there'll be one at the start and one at the end. Thank you so much. The results are coming in. I'll just give you a couple more seconds and then I'll share the results. Okay, I'm just going to end the poll now. Thank you so much for sharing. It looks like the majority of you feel like that gender inequality is very serious. About 30% think it's quite serious, so that's still pretty serious. And I'm delighted that some people think it's not serious or not an issue at all. Like I would love to learn from you. And, congratulations for finding balance in your own life and in your world. Thank you. So I'm going to end this now, and I'm going to invite Tasha and Anu, our two fabulous co-hosts, to step in at this point.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those for that great opening, Kemi. And yeah, interesting results from the polls there. I am Tasha Shea. I'm one of the co-hosts today. In my day life, I'm a project manager with a master's degree in development studies from York University. I sit on the board of an organization called Not 9 to 5, which advocates for mental health in the hospitality industry. I've worked in more than 15 countries on international development projects. And in Toronto, I've worked for grassroots organizations, for the local municipality as a civil servant, and I own a social impacting consultancy where I have all kinds of clients and do all kinds of things, including some NBA players. In my free time, I like to cook, make videos of set cooking, and surf, which you might notice from the board in my background. I'll just take a minute to remind everybody here that you can put your questions in the Q&A box as the webinar is going on. And myself and Anu, the other co-hosts, we're going to collect them all. And then there'll be a Q&A session at the end where we'll direct them to the different speakers. So if you've got a question as you're watching, just pop it into the chat and we'll get those all together in the end. So thanks everybody for coming, and I'll pass it over to my co-host.
Hello, everybody. My name is Anu Oduole. I'm the second co-host for the event today. I just want to thank everybody again for making time to come. I know in some parts of Canada right now, it's pretty warm outside. We all want to be outside, but we've taken time out to be here and celebrate women and understand more about their strengths and their struggles. As Tasha has said, questions will be taken in the question box. I'm also here to tell you that this event is being recorded live on Facebook. So if at any time you get dropped off, you can pop into Facebook and watch it. If for any reason you have to go somewhere and you want to catch up, Facebook is there. It's being recorded live. So pop in, go out, come back in. We'll still be here at this event. And then there is one other thing I'm excited to tell everybody about. We're gonna have prize winners. So because you've graciously joined us for this event, you've taken time to register, we're gonna pick from one of the people who registered for this event and just give them a prize as a thank you. And we're also looking at people who are commenting in the chat box. So the more you comment, the higher chance you have of being a winner for today as well. So thank you very much. I'm gonna give it to Tasha to introduce our first speaker.
Thank you. So thank you to all of our speakers today, and I'm excited to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Yusra Ahmad. Dr. Ahmad is an MD, FRCPC, a psychiatrist in Toronto. She graduated with a BA from the University of Chicago and an MD from the University of Toronto, where she completed her residency in psychiatry. Dr. Ahmad has expertise in trauma, mood and anxiety disorders, as well as SPMI populations. So that's severe, persistent mental illness. She believes in the power of psychotherapy to address the struggles that spring from human condition. She is dedicated to advocacy around diverse issues such as marginalization, homelessness, poverty, and refugee mental health, gender-based violence, and struggles in the Muslim and youth families. Very important work. We're really excited to have you with us here today. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for that warm introduction and for having me. I am blessed to speak with you today from my perspective as a psychiatrist and as a Muslim woman. So on that note, I wish to welcome all of you by saying, may peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum. This is the Islamic greeting of peace, which I particularly love because it's simple, it's beautiful, and it's powerful. Embedded within the greeting itself is a prayer. When we say this, we invoke one of the names of God, As-Salam, the source of all peace. May the source of all peace make peace flow from my heart to your heart, and from your heart to my heart. Amen. We truly long for, pray for, and work for this peace as we find ourselves thrust into times of trauma, turmoil, turbulence, tribulation, and transformation. Even as this pandemic starts to lift a little bit here in Canada, I must acknowledge my sisters and brothers in humanity the world over. As Remy has alluded to this already, we have over 1 million refugees who have now fled Ukraine in what is being described as the fastest exodus, perhaps ever. Even before this unfolding tragedy in Ukraine, there were already 84 million forcibly displaced people on this earth. 70% originate from just 5 countries. 1, Syria. 2, Venezuela. 3, Afghanistan. 4, Sudan. And 5, Myanmar, whose population is noteworthy for being not only homeless, but also stateless. There's Ethiopia, of course, where there's a genocide underway, and Yemen, where wars by proxy, famine, and cholera have unleashed one of the largest humanitarian catastrophes ever. Yemen is in the throes of the world's worst food insecurity crisis, and every 10 minutes, a child dies in Yemen. Why is this relevant to us and to a conversation around our mental health? Well, because we're all connected. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, described humanity as one body. He said that when one part of the body is hurting, the whole body is convulsed with fever. There is no separation. And this is a parable that Saadi, a Persian poet and one of the giants of the classical period, elaborated upon when he penned these verses in the 13th century. Children of Adam are members of one whole existence, being in creation made of one essence. Should the vicissitudes of destiny afflict one with pain, other members perforce will uncomfortable remain. Thou who art apathetic about other people's desolation, do not merit the human appellation. As such, it is normal, it is understandable, it is to be expected that we should be struggling right now. All of us, through our shared humanity, we feel this. For some of us, our feelings, our pain, our traumas can become so overwhelming, or our genetic predisposition can be such that we cross the line into having a diagnosable mental illness. There is data to suggest that close to 1 billion people right now have a mental health disorder. Yet very, very few of these people have access to quality services. In many countries, 75% of people with mental health conditions receive no treatment whatsoever. Low-income countries have an average of 0.1 psychiatrists per 100,000 people, according to the World Health Organization. As Dr. Remy pointed out, the pandemic has only exacerbated the picture. People have lost their jobs. There's worsening food insecurity and homelessness. There is increased fear and anxiety. There are skyrocketing rates of substance use. Social distancing measures have led to the loss of support systems and increased loneliness. Violence of all kinds has escalated. We are bearing witness to numerous wars like the ones mentioned or alluded to earlier, and even more than those. But we are also bearing witness to the silent and invisible wars being fought within people's homes, with the harrowing rise in domestic violence. Much of this conflict is gendered in nature, as women and children have borne the brunt of all of this, of the pandemic, of war, of domestic violence, of poverty, of disempowerment and oppression in all of its forms. Over their lifetimes, around 1 in 3 women can expect to experience physical or sexual abuse at the hands of an intimate partner. In Canada, prior to the pandemic, a woman was killed by her partner every 6 days. Now, it's every 2.5 days. The rates are 6 times higher at least for our Indigenous sisters. Not only are lives being lost, but ways of life are being lost. Through it all, women are the ones who pick up the broken pieces, and globally, there are over 100 million mothers who are single-handedly raising their children. Is it any wonder then that mental health conditions also impact women at disproportionately higher rates? It's true. Women, in fact, suffer higher rates, particularly when it comes to depressive and anxiety disorders compared to men. The research indicates that differences between women and men in roles and responsibilities, status and power, attitudes and perceptions can interact with biological differences to contribute to the types of mental health problems suffered, the severity of those disorders, the health-seeking behaviors displayed, and the quality of care and support received from the healthcare sector as well as society as a whole. Let us remember that many people who access mental health care feel judged. People worry rightfully about being discriminated against, losing their standing in their respective communities, or losing their livelihoods. These concerns can grow and be compounded by other intersecting factors such as age, gender, race, migration status, socioeconomic status, and a host of others. In some cases, people are rightfully worried that they may even be more harmed by existing systems of care because of the lack of attentiveness being paid to the totality of who they are. There is a lot of work to do, and I truly encourage any of the young people in this audience to consider pursuing a career in mental health care because we need you. And I encourage all of us to look out for each other, to create safe spaces for those who are struggling, to do what we can within our means to uplift each other, and for those of us who have some measure of power to share that power by empowering others, giving a voice to the voiceless, being a shoulder for someone to lean on, and instilling hope in the midst of so much darkness. If we are to tackle the challenges of our time, we need a comprehensive strategy, a broad-based approach that operates from a place of humility, wisdom, cultural safety, spiritual understanding, knowledge, and most of all, love. Let's redress the wrongs we have done, create a more balanced, healthier world where the homeless, the orphan, the refugee, the abused, the oppressed, and the mentally ill are given the love, dignity, and peace that they deserve. Assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon you. I wanted to just give a shout out to Dr. Raham Mansour, a physician from Gaza, for assisting me with the statistics I presented today. And if you wish to learn more about our work or connect with us or support us or join us, please follow us, Mindfully Muslim, on Instagram. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmad, for that wonderful presentation. It speaks a lot to both what's going on now and the efforts we need to make for a better future. So right now, I'm going to go in and introduce our next speaker, Dr. Christabel Mbiza. So Dr. Christabel Mbiza is a focused, determined, and committed lady to contributing to humanities through the medical services and provisions of leadership at different levels. A registrar in obstetrics and gynecology, she is a Zambian, educated in Russia, where she did her medicine. She's very active in the fight against gender-based violence and in the mentoring of the next generation of leaders. She is a member of the Nasser Youth Movement Leadership Fellowship Branch in Zambia. And Dr. Christabel is also the chairman, Students Medical Chapter. She's the chairperson of the Students Medical Chapter under the Medical Women's Association of Zambia. Thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Christabel, today, and we welcome you.
Thank you so much. Good morning to those in Canada. Good evening to those that are in Zambia, and afternoon to the rest of the parts of the world. It is such an honor and privilege to be able to speak to all of you today. My names have already been mentioned. Our subject of discussion is gender inequality in caregiving. Gender is a risk, it's a role, a right, and a responsibility that society ascribes to women. gender inequality has been looked at to be ascribed to more of women and girls. And therefore, we need to understand what this is all about. Issues that affect gender inequality have to do basically with upbringing, parenting. What we have noted is that upbringing of a child has only been ascribed to a woman. And yet this role is not only for a woman alone, but it involves also the counterpart, the man, to take part in the upbringing of the children. I will look at the scope of where we are in terms of risk factors that we have, more particularly to Zambia, which may apply to the rest of the other African countries at large. We have girl-child discrimination. The girl child in Africa is considered as an asset that is there to be only taught domestic work. And this has had an effect in that we have seen illiteracy among our girl children. We have also had issues of early child marriages. Our girl children are being married off for as low an age as 10. Once they attain puberty, they are considered ripe and ready to be given away into marriage. Looking at the statistical GDP, that is at 5.3, that is statistics concerning 2020, where we have had these rises in the pandemic. So as for Zambia, it is considered that 12 million girls per year are married off. That is less than the age of 18. It is a concern because for me as an obstetrician and as a mother, this is so much of a concern, meaning there are very high number of cases of GBV, sexual violence that are going on among our young children that are having to grow up before their time, just because people need to survive. Once these girls are married off, whatever income that is gotten is what is used to sustain the various homes. It is a sad situation, and therefore we need to arise and educate the girl child and make her realize that her role is not just domestic work, and that she can rise up to be like the many women out there, to be doctors, to be engineers, to be architects. Not that it is for guys, because we still have those where we look at professionalism, that certain jobs are only for men and women cannot venture into them. Up to today, people still look at a woman in health sector as a nurse. There is nothing wrong with that. I mean, for me, call me a nurse, call me a sister, that much I understand, because we're coming from a long way where women have had to fight their positions to be acknowledged in society, that they can still take these leadership roles. They can still be part of the world change makers in terms of what they are. Cultures come into perspective when we look at inequalities, but that does not mean that we should broaden our minds towards that. There is more that women and girls have to offer. Even from the family sector, we need to understand that our roles as parents, as women and men also define and shape the future for our children and our children's children. During the pandemic, statistics have shown that in a family where there's a 2 income, the woman is more likely to give up her work. And we have seen this happen in various places, not only here in Africa, but also worldwide, where closure of schools have led to women reconsider their jobs to make sure that caregiving and the family unit is still kept intact, and therefore the need to forgo their jobs and stay at home and take care of their children. We have also noted that the woman, through these challenges, has had to be borne down. She has had to go through so much anxiety, so much stress, so much depression. And in Zambia, particularly, even as the previous speaker has noted, we have seen a rise in mental health problems or disorders that need to be attended. It has been a wake-up call for us as a nation to ensure that we understand that mental health is no longer an issue to stigmatize, but it is something that we need to work towards to make sure that our nation grows, and to make sure that we are there as women, as men, to be able to see our children through. So even through that, we need to understand that we are better when we are united in order to make sure that we still have a tomorrow for our children. I thank you so much, and I pray that even as women watching this, we are able to make a difference, to stand together, to fight this fight, and know that gender inequality is there, it is real, and we need to work towards it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cristobal. That was a really powerful talk. And thank you so much for the hard work that you do supporting women and girls in Zambia. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next speaker, who's going to be a video. And so it is Catherine McKenna. The Honorable Catherine McKenna is a Canadian lawyer and former politician who served as cabinet minister from 2015 to 2021. McKenna previously worked as a lawyer in Canada and Indonesia and as a negotiator with the UN mission to East Timor, and taught at the Monk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy at the University of Toronto. She is also co-founder of the charitable organization Level Justice, in addition to climate change and nature solutions and women leading on climate. McKenna holds degrees from the University of Toronto, the London School of Economics and Political Science, and McGill University's Faculty of Law. So I'm looking forward to this video. Thank you.
I'm really excited to be able to speak at Women Focus Canada's International Women's Day event. I want to talk about climate and inequity. When you think about the fight to tackle what I think is one of the world's biggest problems, climate change, it's really women who are leading the climate revolution. That may be women at the negotiating table, but it's also women in their communities around the world. Whether it's Indigenous women that we see in Canada working to protect water and protect the land, or women in communities in developing or less developed countries where they're responsible for going further to get firewood as a result of droughts, or having to deal with the impacts of devastating impacts of climate change, which can be anything from flooding to extreme weather events and storms. Women have been at the forefront of climate action. I've seen that. That's why I've started an initiative called Women Leading on Climate. It's really to recognize that women are often the ones most impacted by climate change, but also are women that are leading the way. And we will only win the climate revolution if we empower women, whether it's grassroots women in their communities or women leaders. So keep it up, everyone. Wishing you a happy International Women's Day. And I just want to recognize all the women out there that are fighting for our planet.
That was just a small video from Catherine McKenna on the impact of climate and, the relationship between that and women. And I'm sure we all have a lot going through our minds, our gardens, the things we do just for our environment in small and in big ways. So I just want to thank her again, even though she's not here. I just want to thank her again for that wonderful video. So I'm going to go on and introduce the next speaker that we have. But just a reminder, please drop your questions in the Q&A box as we're going along, and we're going to answer them at the end of the event. So next up is Miss Dionne Sinclair. She is the Vice President of the Clinical Care and Chief Nurse Executive at the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. Ms. Dionne plays an integral part in helping the organization achieve its goals through the integration and equitable care and support for people with mental health illness. She leads the program that supports those with the most complex illnesses and is dedicated to improving access to excellent patient-centered care so that people may live better lives. Ms. Dionne is also a member of the Registered Nurses Association of Ontario, the Black Nurses Task Force, and an active member of the College of Nurses of Ontario's Employers Reference Group. I welcome you, Ms. Dionne.
Okay, thank you very much. And I just want to say it's a privilege to be here. Dr. Ahmad and Dr. Cristobal, you absolutely moved me with those facts that you've shared, and everything you've said is correct. Also, Dr. Adawe, I'm just honored to be a part of this. So thank you so much for inviting me. I would like to share my screen, and I'm going to share a little bit about myself, and it's called resiliency because yes, there is gender inequality. There is, it will be, and we're working to narrow the gap, but what do you do with what the facts are right now? So I'm going to tell the story of this little immigrant kid from Jamaica. Her name's Dionne. And the first picture I'm going to bring everyone over to is a picture that most immigrants, if you came to Canada in the 60s or 70s, you have this picture. In my class, that's me. And the only other Black child in class with me is my brother, Steve Sinclair. We grew up in London, Ontario, 1976. And again, you're in that immigrant home. The only thing I can say is Jamaica is one of those islands, I call it, it's matriarchal. So the women, they control a lot of the power, property, and the social privilege a lot of women have. So you're a strong woman when you're coming from Jamaica. There may be some Jamaicans here. Down at the bottom, and if everyone can see this, take note, that's me graduating from nursing in 1986. There is one male in the class, and that's Mr. Corbett. He was actually our teacher, I think one of the first male nurses. Gender inequality also works in reverse when you think all these women are nurses and we're all the male nurses. Now that is equalizing. However, as a nurse, you're the caregiver. And if you're the nurse in the family, you know that everyone calls on you if they've got a rash, if something hurts, if they're sore, which is fine. I love being a nurse. It's a passion of mine, and I'm still nursing today. What I wanted to share though was growing up in high school, I was told, oh, you better get your education while you're here. You have a strong accent and you're probably not college or university material. That's something that happens to a lot of immigrants when you're told that this is all you can be, or there is an opportunity there for you. Again, I want to point to the middle here, who's my superhero, which is my mom. And my mom really told me, Blossom Sinclair, you don't believe that. You can do and be anything you want to be. Also growing up in Jamaica, I saw that for a fact. Prime Minister is Black. All my teachers were Black. Butcher, baker, candlestick maker, anyone who owned a business, they're Black. So no one could tell me, no, I couldn't be anything I want to be. My mom, with her encouragement, I went on. This is me graduating from Fanshawe College, London, Ontario. That was 1988. She put me in Army Cadets where I learned a lot of leadership skills, and it also helped with a mom raising 4 kids. We didn't have that much, extra. So being a part of Army Cadets, I was able to go away to summer camp and be a part of an organization that really did teach you how to be a leader. I'm sharing this picture right here. That's me in Jamaica. And my brother Steve, again, the same one over here, my sister Orlean, we have another brother Ian, but that's us 43 years later, recreating this picture. I'm gonna come back to it just to tell about how mental illness can impact a family. That's me graduating from my master's at York University. I really want to find that guidance counselor who told me I'm not college or university material, because after graduating high school as an RPN, going to Fanshawe College, getting my diploma RN, I've since went on to University of Western Ontario, Bachelor of Science in Nursing, York University, Master's in Nursing, completed a Master's in Health and Med. Why am I saying all this? Yes, there's gender inequality out there. Yes, the world will not be fair to you as a woman. Yes, you're gonna have more responsibility, more times than the males in your life, and you're going to be looked on by others in your family to also help them out. I can say I'm a single mom, 3 kids, there they are right here. This is Althea, Pamela, and Brianne. I will tell you about Althea. She's now a registered nurse. She went to Queen's University. While as a single mom, while going back to school myself, I encourage my girls to keep going and go back to school. Again, I'm saying that to give some hope. The facts are the facts. They're pretty dire. And it is true, around the world, women and girls suffer from a lot, but also it's true that women and girls are some of the toughest human beings on the planet, and we overcome and we persevere and we adapt and we keep going. So I want everyone here listening to my voice to know that you can overcome, persevere, adapt, and keep going, because sometimes you don't have a choice. And I have 3 girls. I came from a Black woman. I gave birth to Black women, and I tell them, keep going. So Althea is a registered nurse. Pam in the middle is a social worker. Brianne on the end works for TD Bank. She's an actuary. And they were raised by a single mom. They're phenomenal women. I'm so proud of them. This is me in one of my roles as a director of medicine. That was at South Lake Hospital. Now from my introduction, you hear I'm the vice president, clinical operations, chief nursing executive at the largest mental health hospital in the country. It is actually internationally renowned. It's an academic health science center. So how did this little kid from Jamaica, this one right here, started out as an RPN and is now the vice president of operations, the second to the CEO at a hospital? Hard work, dedication, perseverance, stick-to-itiveness. I don't like the word resilience anymore because we're all told to be resilient, but you know what? You have to be adaptable. You have to be able to move from tables where respect is not being served. And if anyone tells you you can't, you need to go out there and prove them that you can. So here's one of the things I'll bring back to mental health, that a lot of women, we suffer in silence when things happen to us, when things happen to our family. I think it was Dr. Ahmad who said, sometimes we internalize things because we don't want to be judged. We don't want to have a stigma attached to us, and then it impacts our jobs or things like that. My brother, Steve, you see this picture? Remember, we're like this because the 2 of us went through all of primary school, middle school, high school together. 3 months after this picture, my brother Steve was shot and killed by a 15-year-old. It actually made national news. We were this close. Losing my brother was one of the toughest things that happened. And as the nurse in the family, who had to console everyone else? Who had to make sure mom was okay and dad was okay and my sisters were okay, brothers were okay, his kids, making sure they're okay. He died and left 5 kids and 1 grandchild. And at the end of the day, I'm looking at myself in the mirror and had to reckon with myself saying, you are not okay. When I'm alone, when I was by myself, all the flowers are gone, all the condolence notes are gone. You're left alone to deal with that emptiness, and you have to be strong enough to say, It's okay to be not okay, but if you need help, go seek help. We're not superwomen, and it is okay to reach out to other sisters for help. It is okay to reach out to your tribe for help, co-workers for help. At CAMH, we have Access CAMH. If anyone needs help, you can reach out there. I just want to say I needed help. I reached out for help. I share that with everyone to say, me too. It's okay to say, I've been impacted by something traumatizing, something traumatic, and I wasn't okay. I went and got help, people to talk to, people who listened, people who understood, and I'm much better for it. But I want to share that with everyone so they can say, hey, the vice president and chief nurse at CAMH went and got help. So can I. We're strong enough to overcome a lot. We still have to overcome a lot. My girls will have to overcome a lot. But if they do need help, I want everyone listening to my voice know that you can go seek help. And it's okay. It really is okay. That's how we break the stigma. You have to share. We're not superwomen. Okay? So that's what I wanted to share. I wanted to share some hope. You can go from RPN to vice president. It is possible. Even when you're a single mom, 3 kids, no child support. Very possible. Hard work, a lot of hard work. However, if you do run into areas where you do need to seek help, it is still okay to do that too. All right? Thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Dionne, for that really powerful presentation. And thank you for all the work that you're doing and coming here today to talk, because I think one of the most powerful things we can do as women of color is show up and speak in front of other women of color and share our stories and be an example. And thank you for your message around it's okay to get help. That's a very important message, and coming from somebody who's been as successful as yourself, that's like a great message. So thank you. I'm in therapy. I love it. So I resonate with your message. So thank you. Our next, we have a performance from Ternice Sweeney, who is an 18-year-old pianist hailing from Scarborough, Canada. She's been playing the steel pan since she was the age of 3. Okay, wow. And since 2017 has been the youngest members of Los Amigos Parang, a band in Toronto. Skilled at playing a wide variety of songs and genres, Ternice can play music to suit all ages, having a background consisting of Jamaican, Montessorian, Trinidadian, and Haitian. The steel pan is a big part of her culture. And she aspires to share her love of music by becoming a music teacher one day. So she may teach other kids the joy of music. Currently, she is studying to attend her bachelor's degree in music, as well as minoring in sociology to achieve her goals of becoming a teacher. So I hope everybody enjoys this performance.
Wow, that was definitely a wonderful rendition of Girl on Fire. Wonderful music, perfect for the occasion that we're celebrating. And I just want to thank Chancy again for that wonderful music. We can always listen to her music online. She shares them, so feel free. Her social media pages, she puts up her music there. So next up, I am going to introduce our next speaker, Rachel Radyk. Rachel is a Canadian nurse of Indigenous and settler heritage. Indigenous ancestry is linked to the Chippewa Nation of Georgina Island in Ontario, Canada. Rachel was inspired to pursue nursing in her mother's footsteps and became a practice nurse in 2018. She completed her Bachelor of Science in Nursing and graduated as a valedictorian in 2021. She also completed her communications degree in the fall of 2020. As a student, she also created an Indigenous Nurses and Allied Interest Group with the Registered Nurses Association of Ontario, and she received the President's Award of Excellency in Leadership. I welcome Rachel to her presentation.
Chimigwash for having me here today. I'm just going to share my screen. All right. Okay. Can you see the cover screen? Yeah.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
There's no speakers notes. I don't know, I have two monitors and now they're doing something weird. So as long
No
as
speakers notes.
Okay, great. So Ani Bojo, Wabanokwe Indigenous Kaz, Anishinaabe Kwe Ndao, Georgina Island in Dojaba, Kitchener Indaya. So hello everyone, my name is Rachel Radyk and my pronouns are she, her, and Kwe. As it was said before, I am a mixed Anishinaabe woman from Georgina Island, having a settler heritage of Irish, Scottish, and Ukrainian ancestry. I currently live in Kitchener, which is situated on the Haldman Tract and is the traditional lands of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral peoples. So today I'm going to be talking about a topic when we think about caregiving and Indigenous women accessing healthcare. I'm briefly going to be talking on the impacts of colonialism on Indigenous women, and then briefly discussing forced and coerced sterilization. So within Indigenous communities, the power that women hold and carry, being the life givers and the water carriers, is sacred. Prior to colonization, Indigenous women played key roles within their communities as equals, contributing to communities where their gifts called to. But after colonization, communities shifted from a matriarchal society to a patriarchal system that was introduced in 1876 and still exists today within communities. This made Indigenous women unable to be involved in politics or many other parts of community that they used to share their gifts due to gender roles. Particularly First Nation women were stripped of their status with the Indian Act if they married a non-Indigenous man. Some of these families, generations later, even now, are still fighting with the government to have enough proof to be able to gain their status back, meaning that even though they have Indigenous heritage and ancestry, the government is denying them their rights to access their status. This controls directly who is eligible for status and directly controls the amount of the population that in the eyes of government is considered Indigenous enough to the federal government to meet their treaty obligations and the financial and community obligations that come along with that. But it also directly impacts Indigenous families in knowing if they're Indigenous enough. So when we talk about forced and coerced sterilization, and there have been a lot of articles that have been coming out lately, there is a current lawsuit that is going on right now. So with forced and coerced sterilization, it's a form of permanent contraception, which means after the procedure, a woman can no longer have children. These procedures were done sometimes without free, prior, and informed consent, meaning that Indigenous women were not told about the repercussions of the procedure, or they knew about the procedure, said that they did not want it, and it was still performed on them. This meant that they were cut off from being able to reproduce and directly violated their reproductive rights. So forced and coerced sterilization continues the history of colonization by aiming directly to control and eliminate the population by targeting and the Indigenous woman. So forced and coerced sterilization reduces the number of individuals who can claim Indigenous identity, their rights to land, and the rights to their treaties that are tied to that land. So from 2005 to 2019, there have been over 100 Indigenous women from across Canada who've come forward about either being forced or coerced to undergo a sterilization procedure. When we talk about Indigenous women, and I said before, we are the water carriers, but we are also the seed carriers. So we carry those seeds of life to reproduce. So taking that ability away from being able to reproduce cuts off the ability and is a complete violation of our reproductive rights. So forced and coerced sterilization also undermines the autonomy of an Indigenous woman has over their body. And women who are victims of forced and coerced sterilizations are impacted in many ways, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And a few of those are example are pain, hormonal imbalances, loss of identity, depression and anxiety. And to touch on that loss of identity, you know, being that life giver, having that taken away from you without your consent, I can't even imagine how that would feel. So forced and coerced sterilization is one of the ways that healthcare continues to be an unsafe space for Indigenous women, leading to hesitancy across healthcare, which leads to poor health outcomes for Indigenous women. So when we think about what our role is, or how individuals or allies can take action, respecting the matriarchal teachings that Indigenous folks may hold is really important. Learning the history of colonization and thinking about how you can amplify the voices of Indigenous women, girls, and gender diverse people. You can use your voice to speak up about violence and injustice that impacts Indigenous people when accessing healthcare, and reflect how you can make spaces that you work in more culturally aware for Indigenous people. Is this work doesn't always have to be in the hands of an Indigenous person. We need to walk together with Indigenous women, girls, and gender diverse people to empower them. We need to use resources and toolkits that are Indigenous led. A really good one is the Know Your Rights Toolkit from the Native Women's Association of Canada. I also have a few books that if individuals are interested, that talk about the history of Indian hospitals. So there's separate beds. I found this one on Amazon. It's by Maureen Luffs. It's really good, and it really is comprehensive about the history of what happened in Indian hospitals within Canada. And then also, this focuses more on missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, but The Highway of Tears is a really good book that I'd recommend for individuals to read if you want to further your learning on this topic. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And I just want to say Chimigwech to everybody for listening and for having me be a speaker here today. So, Miigwech.
Thank you, Rachel. That was a really powerful talk. And I really appreciate that you gave us action items at the end, some that are a little bit, like bigger, and some that are very actionable. And I love that you gave us a reading list too, because I'm a big reader. So thank you. I've got those written down and I'm gonna check them out. So our next speaker is Ulambeni Ibiola, who is a graduate BCS nursing from prestigious University of Nigeria, with over 30 years of professional experience in the health sector. She's been able to work in various departments within the medical profession. She is a health practitioner currently working with the Government Health Institute in Nigeria. So we've got a quick video from her. Looking forward to it.
How would you describe the intense work environment during COVID?
It was very intense in terms of handling very ill patients. And as most of them come in as emergency cases, most of them are breathless. Their SpO2 is very low. So we have to treat them as emergency cases. We administer oxygen, we give them immediate attention. Continue. We give prescribed drugs. We continue observing them. Most of them that are diabetic, we check their sugar level regularly, and most of them that are hypertensive, we check their blood pressure. And some of them, the anxiety the anxiety will be there because they hear that they are COVID-19 positive. The fear comes in, so we allay their fear, the fear and the anxiety. The relatives too, they are anxious, so we talk to them, we reassure them, and we prevent the transfer of the infection because it's a global infection and it's easily transferred from one person to another, and so we prevent that one so that we minimize the number of the people affected. So it was very intense. Is that we have to keep on observing them. We don't really leave them, and we treat the relative too. We check we make them to undergo tests so that we know if they are being infected also. So if they are infected, we take care of them also.
What do you do to unwind after a busy day at the hospital?
Yeah, after a busy day at the hospital, I spend time with my family, my husband, my children. I watch films, television, and I read novels. I chat with my friends. I call them to assure them to know of their safety and to advise them to take care of themselves and to prevent themselves from being affected.
As a health worker, what advice do you have for other nurses on how to unwind after a busy day?
As health workers, I advise my colleagues to rest well, to watch television if they are able to do it, to chat with their friends, spend time with their family, check their blood pressure. Some of them might not be hypertensive, but because of the intense work we are doing, they come up with hypertension. So they need to check their BP regularly, check their blood sugar, and make themselves okay and get safe.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. That was a video of the on-ground experience of nurse practitioners in Nigeria from Oluwabomi Abiola. We just want to thank them again for that wonderful video. And then next up, we are going to introduce two speakers in one. So we have two of our next speakers. The first person is Ifika Al-Hulani. Ifika is from Homs, Syria, and became a refugee in Lebanon in 2012. On December 7th, 2016, Ifika and her family touched down in Winnipeg in a highway-closed blizzard and have since moved in Portage La Prairie to begin their new life. They have lived there ever since, worked hard to forge a new life in a new country, and also help sponsor other family members. Ifika is currently studying to get her mature high school diploma and also gain her Canadian citizenship. We're very happy for her. And as well as that, she's also working part-time while being the main support person for her brother's family, who just arrived in December. She's a wife and a mother to 3 children between the ages of 12. Now, our second speaker that would also be speaking along with her is Sherry Blaylock. Sherry is from the Portage La Prairie as well in Manitoba. A former teacher and a current digital bookkeeper, Sherry thinks that as Canadians, we have a moral responsibility to help those who find themselves in situations not as fortunate as ours. I definitely agree with her on that. Sherry joins us with other people in and around Sherry joins up with other people in and around her community and a small city who were moved to create the Portage and Area Refugee Coalition, which sponsored 2 Syrian refugee families during the height of that refugee crisis. Since the 2 initial family sponsorship, Sherry became the co-sponsor of any other family who arrived last December and is in the process of getting formal applications started with her friend Ifika. Project Unite. They use Project Unite as a way to help people settle in Portage La Prairie. They're hoping that through Project Unite, they would hopefully see 9 of Ifika's relatives resettle there. She also thinks that having a flela and I'm not too sure how to pronounce this. I hope I pronounce it well. Molokahil delivered to her door out of the blue is pretty fantastic as well. So Ifika and Sherry, you're welcome.
Thank you so much for having us. I'm just going to share our screen here. So I've been, as I was introduced there, I've been part of projects that have brought over 15 Syrian refugees so far. Iftikhar is the mother of the second family that settled in Portage La Prairie. And she's going to outline her story from her house near Homs, Syria, to Manitoba via Lebanon. And then I'll speak about what it's like to be waiting for them to arrive in Canada.
It took us 10 years to build this house because we don't have the money to finish it right away, and there is no such thing as a mortgage. We lived there for only 8 months because the war was becoming more dangerous and closer to home. One time I counted 23 things going past my house. One time the soldiers shoot at our house through our door. We are under the main sink in the kitchen all together. So we didn't get hurt. Windows were blown out of our house, and then we left for Damascus, stayed 40 days in a hotel, and then on to Lebanon, where we got a new labeled refugee. It was very hard for us to hear this word. We thought we were just going to be there for a short visit and then we will go back home to Syria. We didn't feel welcome, and inside we were very sad. We had a house, a life, money, good weather, food. Now we had nothing in a new country. It's hard to keep your kids safe in a new country. My husband had to go to Beirut week to work, all week to work and was with us only on the weekend. It was my responsibility to look after three kids in a different country. We were able to rent a house for 2 years, but after that we ran out of money and had to move to a camp. Again, a new life in a new place. It to keep my kids clean and healthy was very hard. It was especially challenging to get them an education. It was very, very cold in winter and very, very hot in summer. One day, the United Nations called us to ask us if we wanted to go to Canada. We didn't know what Canada was, what it had. It was safe or nice. All we know we was that we were very tired of living in a country that didn't want us. They called on December 6, 2016. 1 year later, we arrived in Toronto. It was very stressful when we arrived in Winnipeg, but we saw people smiling in front of us. It gave us hope and confidence. Day by day, we felt more and more like these people were our family. I didn't, I hadn't had this feeling for 5 years since I left my country and my people. Canadian people were more than friends. I can't describe how great they are. To feel this love from people and they care about your safety, it means a lot to us. The woman with my family is Anna. I had never met a woman like her before. She was caring, loving. We called her grandma. She passed away about a year and a half ago. We still love her and always we remember her. She is a very special lady for us. We have a lot of friends and we love each other. We have a great time with each other. I have a house. I have a great family. I learned how to be a given person from Anna and other friends. I promise to make my friends and Anna proud of us. Also, I promise to keep helping people who need help as long as I can. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Yusra. I started this journey of helping caring for refugees by joining a loose grouping of people in Portage called the Portage and Area Refugee Coalition, or PARC. Our first meeting was on September 22nd, 2015, and there were about 20 people there. Anna, standing in this photo, took the chair position. She was a force, to say the least, and she's greatly, greatly missed. More people joined as the coalition gained momentum. The vast majority of the people were women, but a few men came to help too. In January of 2016, we received an email that we had been matched with 2 families, each with 5 members. One of the families was Issachar. How does one care for a family on paper? To be honest, I didn't. They were just written as male, 39, previous work as this or that, has this health problem or that health problem, speaks Arabic, and on down the line. Even when we got their names, I didn't care for them per se. I only cared that we were moving ahead with everything that needed to get done at this end to get them here and to get them here safely. We had meetings about once a month, and we're told in January that their arrival could be imminent. That turned out to be completely false, as it was another 10 months before the first family arrived and still another month after that for Iftikhar. I now know that in Lebanon, her family was waiting for 12 months as well. I want to mention here how much admiration I have for Iftikhar and her husband to have the courage to leave their part of the world for somewhere they had no idea what it was like, what the weather, customs, anything was like. Canada was just an abstraction where they could start again and maybe have semblance of a normal life. Finally, after what seemed like forever, we got news of when the first family was going to arrive. We got posters and a banner, and a bunch of us went to the airport. We were all very, very, very excited, and the family was very, very tired. My job in the days leading up to their arrival had been to stock the kitchen, and I felt good about doing that. I had a list of Middle Eastern ingredients, and I knew a little bit about Middle Eastern cooking from having traveled through Turkey many moons ago. So I went to work finding all the ingredients here and in Winnipeg. For the first two families, I took on the role of social event organizer and whatever else I saw that had to be done. We did a lot of skating and some sliding. I wanted them to try to enjoy winter as much as I do, as I knew it would be very hard for them to adjust to. So how does one care for adults who are starting out again in a new and different land? Sometimes it's giving advice, sometimes it's keeping your mouth shut. Part of caring is letting someone make their own decisions. Things are a lot different here in Canada, so it's sometimes hard to know if they really know the situation and all the nuances or not. As someone who's traveled quite a lot in the past, I know it's always the things that one doesn't know that will cause the issue. I sometimes end up feeling bad because I didn't tell them something they needed to know, but I didn't know that they didn't know. Caring is also about forgiveness. Of course, every person in the world is unique. Although for the most part, we all want the same things: safety, security, health, good food and water, a good education, and happiness for our families and ourselves. It's natural that some people will get on better than others. For me, Iftikhar has been one of the biggest blessings of my life. We are quite similar and are often on the same wavelength. We are truly friends. In fact, we call each other sisters, and we really mean that. When her brother's family arrived, seeing her joy and happiness made all the work worthwhile. Also, now I have two families that spontaneously drop by with food. How can I not support someone who brings food that looks like this? Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak here today and tell our story. We will continue to work towards a safe home where everyone, male or female, can prosper. Our next project together is raising money to bring over other members of Iftikhar and her husband's family. You can help by going to the website on your screen. Every dollar helps. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Iftikhar and Sherry. That was such like a beautiful story. Thank you. And I love the food theme throughout it. I love that you went shopping to find the foods, because we know that is such an important part of the immigration story, is people having access to foods from back home. So that's such a nice welcoming thing. And Iftikhar, that food looks so good. So if you ever need a place to stay in Toronto, I've got an extra room, and we can make some food videos together. So thank you. That was a great story. Thank you. I love it. And so For our next speaker, we've got another video, but before I introduce her, I'm going to remind everybody to put your questions in the Q&A box. We've got some speakers answering them live, and we will do a Q&A at the end. We're having a little bit of trouble copying and pasting them out of the chat. So really, to get your questions addressed, the best way is to put them in the Q&A box. So please do that. We'll do our best for the ones in the chat from earlier. So our next speaker is going to, yes, be a short video, and it's Cecilia Zimba, who is a chartered accountant and a fellow member of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants and the Zambia Institute of Chartered Accountants. Wow, that's a lot of certifications. She holds a master's degree in business administration obtained from Heriot-Watt University. She's an alumni of various universities and has undertaken several postgraduate studies in business leadership, which include the Massachusetts Institute of Technology leadership program. She's an experienced business leader with extensive professional experience and significant executive leadership accomplishments, both in international and local business affairs. Wow, Celia's got a lot of credentials. She is part of the social and community. As part of her social and community responsibility, she offers free professional services, both to international and local charities, and is involved in education of children. She serves on the board of trustees for the Roma Parish Academy, and she has a passion for working with young people and promotes education of children. She's also a trustee of the Zambia Young Women's Christian Association, so the YWCA. Wow, I'm looking forward to this video from Cecilia.
My name is Cecilia Zimba. I'm a chartered accountant, and currently I'm the president of the Zambia Institute of Chartered Accountants, ZICA. In fact, I became the first female to take up or to be elected president of a profession that is male dominated. So in my country, it was a big celebration, and I also feel greatly honored to have been elected first female president in the Institute. Now, coming to the theme of gender inequality in caregiving, I think what comes to my mind is how women in various professions are actually inhibited from developing in their career progression because of what society expects of them, especially where caregiving is concerned. Our family settings are such that it is the woman's primary responsibility to provide care. But we know that a family is not only about a mother or a woman. In a family where there is a man and wife or husband and wife, it should be equal responsibilities. Of course, there are certain responsibilities that are more or less like God-given. They're a default function for a woman. Carrying a baby, for instance, in a womb, you do not expect a woman to walk away from that responsibility. It's more or less like God-given. But when the child is born, that child belongs to two people. If I have a job that demands that I be at work or I take up certain responsibilities that require me to be present in the job, I think it's only fair that my partner or my spouse is available as much as I am available to take care of that child. So until such a time that society begins to recognize that caregiving, for instance, for a family is responsibility of both parties, a mother and a father will never be able to get over this inequality that I see. So my wish and my desire is to see a time when a woman is a preferred candidate even for a position without having to think of the times that she'll be out of work because of the children that she needs to take care of. I have seen in certain instances where a female candidate is not preferred for a position because, with hindsight, those other responsibilities of caregiving stand on.
So unfortunately, I think our video got cut halfway through. But even from the little we've heard, I think we've certainly heard a lot. Okay, so unfortunately, the rest of the video unfortunately got cut off. But even from the little we've heard, I think we can definitely take a lot from that. You know, she's looking to such a wonderful future where, you know, the help of raising a child comes not just from one person, but from two people that in that relationship. And, you know, in Canada here, we have to recognize that that relationship can sometimes be with same-sex partners. So, you know, in every situation whereby there's a family and, you know, there are kids there, those kids are our future, and we need to ensure that we're there to raise them and to provide for them and to give them better future opportunities. So we're going to introduce our next speaker. Her name is Sandra Schmidt. Sandra is a bilingual educator who obtained a major in French from the York University's Glandon College. She's currently the department head of modern languages at the secondary level for the York Catholic District School Board. Sandra began her teaching career 24 years ago in the inner city of Toronto, Canada. Specializing in extended French and French immersion, she has taught multidisciplinary courses in French grades 1 to 12, and with a particular passion for fostering linguistics and personal confidence in her students. Sandra is currently authorizing and piloting the French immersion program at the secondary level on behalf of a school community and the YCDSB in conjunction with her inspiring team of colleagues. A very proud mother of 3, Sandra is passionate about her family life, fitness, traveling, reading, and time spent at her family cottage. We welcome Sandra Schmidt.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I'm blessed and humbled to be speaking with you on this special day, and I wish to thank Kemi Oduwole, Rowena Power, and the Women Focus Canada organization for the gracious opportunity to share some of my experiences with you. I must confess to feeling a touch of imposter syndrome in the company of so many incredible.
It looks like we're having some problems with the video, so sorry about that. Anu, would you be able to load it from your screen? Or, oh, here we go again.
In rural Quebec, my mother would often say these simple words to my sister and I. Women are amazing. These words made perfect sense to me, but also confounded me at the same time. Being the youngest in my immediate family, and also the youngest member of my extended family that included 17 first cousins, I was surrounded by nurturing and inspiring women, and I grew up with a very clear sense that women were without a doubt amazing. What confounded me was why my mother felt the need to make that assertion so often, and perhaps more importantly, when. She said it when we ran into our neighbor at the grocery store with her child with physical disabilities, and after a visit to her friend who was caring for her parents with dementia. She also said it about her own sister, who had 7 children in 10 years and later obtained her master's in education. Or during her teary admiration for Miss Seeley and Nettie as we watched The Color Purple as a family. I began to realize that my mother was in fact marveling at women's strength in the face of great adversity. Women are amazing was my mother's mantra, her way of showing her pride at being a woman, but also a cautionary counsel to her young daughters. Being a woman is truly a blessing, but one that comes with many crosses. I think I always wanted to be a teacher. As children, my sister, who was 1 year older than I, often played work or school at home, and she was always the boss or the teacher. And so I decided that one day it would be my turn and I would finally be in charge of all the stickers. I also dreamed of being a doctor, but the path of teaching allowed me to align my life with that of my young son, who I raised alone for the first 10 years of his life. Those exigent first years of motherhood coincided with my first years of teaching. My first offer for a permanent job came from the Toronto District School Board, and I was hugely reticent to leave the perceived safety of the suburbs to teach in the city. I was afraid that I would be ill-equipped to be an effective teacher in a context so different from where I grew up. In a sense, I was right to have been apprehensive. Teaching in an area of social, economic, and pedagogical challenges opened my naive suburban eyes to the fact that while all children are uniquely gifted, not all children are gifted with the same opportunities or resources or even institutional norms that can allow them to really thrive. I also discovered that as a teacher, listening can be far more powerful than speaking. I have certainly learned more from my students than they could possibly have learned from me. While I would not want to characterize my years of teaching in the city as one-dimensional, I did experience the loss of students to gun violence and also prostitution, returning to the classroom after traumatic events, and helping the students to deal with tragedy stands out as among the most difficult moments of my career, both personally and professionally. From the time that I became a mother, I am at all times keenly aware that every student I encounter is their parent's precious treasure. This is certainly not to suggest that those who are not parents are not excellent educators. That's simply not the case. But for myself, my motherhood shapes my interactions with my students. And I've always been more interested in the affective aspect of teaching over the effective. I never wanted to be an adult in their lives who they remembered as being harsh or impatient or unkind. My favorite quote on the subject of affect from the transcendent Maya Angelou is a daily reminder of priority. At the end of the day, people won't remember what you said or did. They will remember how you made them feel. Being a positive, supportive, and trusted ally in the lives of young people is our solemn duty to our students as teachers, but it's not one that's always easy. When my second and third children were born, my eldest son was a teenager, and I decided to move to the York Catholic Board to be closer to home. My 13 years plus with the York Catholic Board have been very blessed. I have been privileged to open a brand new high school and pilot a French immersion program with an incredible group of colleagues. But these years have come with personal and professional challenges. Professionally, our school community had to endure the changing of our school's namesake due to his abuse of women. The crash of Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752 that claimed the life of a dear student and her brother and mother, and the extraordinary challenges of hybrid learning during a global pandemic impacting 3 academic years to date. Like many frontline workers in healthcare, food services, and many others, our jobs have become as much about managing mental wellness as managing our professional responsibilities and under grueling conditions. On a personal level, my mother, with whom I was very close, became critically ill. She spent 40 days in intensive care, and when we believed her to be palliative, we chose to bring her home to be with her family as she passed. Her strength was remarkable, and she lived for 2 more years, although in a painful and convalescent state. Like many women, I would wake at 6 a.m., ready my children for school, teach approximately 100 wonderful students with diverse needs and gifts, and then proceed to the hospital or to my mother's bedside while trying to meet the needs of a young family. I never questioned what was required of me. In fact, being there for my mother was the most definite moment of clarity of purpose that I've ever experienced. After my mother's passing, my father lived with our family and sadly was diagnosed with lymphoma. At the time and in the years since his death in 2019, I have become aware of the fact that in my role as a caregiver and in continuing to be a strong teacher, mother, and daughter, I didn't take the time to gauge my own mental wellness, nor did I take time to seek support for my own grief. I'm certainly not alone, and I know that there are countless people, many women, who can relate to the notion that some days after waking, the first thing that we do for ourselves that is not in service of others is to crawl back into bed at night. What is most inconceivable is that for caregivers who already give so much of themselves, being spread so thinly and pulled in so many directions, they are often left feeling that they are ineffective in any particular aspect of their lives. I have experienced this with many of my female teaching colleagues who give of themselves tirelessly at work and at home, striving to achieve that elusive and nebulous work-life balance, feeling conflicted about where their attentions are needed, and are left feeling with feelings of guilt and inadequacy rather than pride and personal satisfaction. I think of this as the proverbial hamster wheel of meal preparation, work, homework, laundry, meal preparation, soccer, piano, bill payments, dentist, dog walk, bed, wash, rinse, and repeat. And then we add to all of this the absence of time to engage in self-care, physical exercise, and also significant occasions to self-actualize, learn new skills, consider career advancement. This is certainly not a recipe towards closing the gender wage gap. The social dynamic of inequity of caregiving is of great importance and without a clear solution. I believe that as women, it is truly in our DNA to nurture and care for others, and for this reason, it is often difficult to establish boundaries for care without feeling that we are abandoning those who need us most. As a mother of a teenage daughter, I want to foster in her those instincts to nurture. However, I am mindful that I must also teach her to tend to herself and to avoid the perils of what I call pervasive, polite people-pleasing, and to set boundaries in her life that will allow her the time and space for personal growth. Perhaps I need to first teach myself. Thank you so much for your kind attention and for the efforts to all of those who organized this wonderful event. My mother was right about so many things, and today reminds me that women truly are amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. That was really like a great talk. That what I really appreciated is you brought in the complexities of being a caregiver from the perspective of a teacher, which we can think about, but then bringing in the caring for your family, caring for your kids. So it's just, it comes from so many different directions. So I think that was really powerful. So thank you. And thank you for all the frontline work that you're doing. I also want to thank the board and the committee at Women Focus Canada, because I think they've done a great job at curating this this day to bring in so many different caregivers and all the complexities. So I'm getting, just having a great day. Thank you. So I'm excited to introduce another speaker, Funke Abolorindi, who works as an environmental health officer with the health unit in Ontario, Canada. Funke is married with children. So we'll go to that quick video and thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching. I bring greetings from Ontario, Canada, and I'm so excited to be a small part of Women Focus Canada. Today, I've been asked to focus a little bit on caregiving roles for women. My name is Funke Abolorindi, and I'm a public health practitioner, I've been in this role for over 20 years and I enjoy what I do. I put in a lot to be where I am and where I am today. I am a mother of 2 grown-up kids. I am also a worker in my local community church. I work as a volunteer with Red Cross Canada and also smaller agencies. As women, we wear so many hats. We juggle a lot of balls effortlessly, and we do it like it's second nature. Recently, I added to my role as a carer of my ill elderly mother. I got all my resources ready and I jumped into it as if I'm juggling another ball. I realized that I needed a lot of support to do well in this role. So I seek help. I had to, made some contacts to make sure that I got the help that I needed. I also get support from family members, community groups, my church. I get that phone call now and again asking how mom is and how I am doing. My message here today is to us women, we need to remember to get help before we get overwhelmed. Before we get burnt out, we need to get help before we fall flat on our faces. Whatever role you're juggling as a woman, whether you are juggling school and work, you're looking after young children under the age of 10, or you're looking after an elderly mother, help is out there, but if you don't seek, you don't find, you don't get. We also need to remember that we need to give ourselves a pat on the back now and again. Even the lion cries. Make that phone call, vent if you need to, take that short break, take that small walk. Self-care is important. Seeking for support is important. I sign out here and I say, take care and God bless.
That was awesome. That is another wonderful speech about self-care, asking for support, seeking the help you need, and finding time to take care of yourself just as much as you're taking care of those around you. We want to thank Ms. Funke Abolaride for that wonderful presentation. And, we continue to support her from wherever we are in her struggles to juggle everything that she's doing. And we, of course, will support all of the ladies who are on this platform. And we just encourage you to keep pushing hard, but don't forget to ask for support. So we're going to introduce our next speaker, Bolu Adefemi. So Bolu is a performer, our last performer for this event. She is a 14-year-old Canadian singer-songwriter. She's from Zimbabwe and Nigeria. She has both cultures in her. She emerged as an important new artist in the summer of 2020 with her internationally acclaimed song, Make It Right. It was a song that was a powerful call to action about social injustice. Just weeks after first performing the song, publicly, she was performing it nationwide on medias around the world. She was honored with the Universal Women's Network Award and is the 2020 Youth Excellence Ambassador in the 2020 Zimbabwe Youth Achievers Award recipient. And she was also nominated for the Ideal Me Humanitarian Award. Recently featured in the Hollywood Times, Bolu is also using her platform to better local communities in other ways. She works with Pickering City on a pilot project, fighting racism, and a virtual performance for Feed the Need Durham. Those are just two of the examples of how she betters her community. Bolu is already a world changer, and this highly impactful young lady continues to use her voice. She uses her voice as a way to make positive difference in the world. And Bolu is here to perform virtually for us today. Okay.
Hello, Women's Focus Canada. My name is Bolu Adefemi. My artist name is Bolu Sings, and I am so unbelievably grateful to be performing for you all today. Today you'll be hearing two of my original songs. First, you'll be hearing Make It Right. Make It Right is a song I wrote in 2020. Make It Right touches on racial injustices as well as Indigenous injustices and injustices around the world. Make It Right is a call to action. Make It Right is based on love and peace and how crucial that is to the world. Next, you'll be hearing Just Breathe. Just Breathe is another of my original songs that I wrote in 2021. Just Breathe focuses on self-care, self-love, and the importance of taking time for yourself. Once again, I am so grateful to be here today, and I hope you enjoy both of my songs. Thank you. What have you become? I'm just wondering what's going on. Why are people so cruel? What was done to you? People preaching truth, they're getting ignored. Don't even know what to do anymore. Have they not realized that it's time to make it right? What am I seeing from my eyes? When will they just apologize? Had enough of all this crime. Now it's time to make it right. 2020, what have you become? I'm just wondering what's going on. Why are people so cruel? What was done to you? People preaching truth, they're getting ignored. Don't even know what to do anymore. Have they not realized that it's time to make it right? What am I seeing from my eyes? When will they just apologize? Had enough of all this pride. Now it's time to make it right. Enough of wasted lives. This is wrong, no it ain't fine. Can we all just stop the fight and make it right?
rough. Or people being rude at school. At times you just don't know what to do. And I'm just trying to find out who I am and what I'm supposed to do. And just trying to find who to be with all these people around me. 'Cause I'm overthinking things as usual. I'm in a state that's kinda critical, and I don't know what to do. I'm overthinking things as usual. I'm in a state that's kinda critical, and I don't know what to do without you. And I forgot to breathe. Feel the whole world looking at me. And I forgot to breathe. Take the moments and slowly. 'Cause I'm overthinking things as usual. I'm in a state that's kinda critical, and I don't know what to do. I'm overthinking things as usual. I'm in a state that's kinda critical, and I don't know what to do without you. And I forgot to breathe. Feel the whole world looking at me. And I forgot to breathe. Take the moments and slowly just breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe.
Thank you, Bolu. That was amazing. Beautiful voice and the lyrics. I can't get over that you're 14 and you're writing those songs. That's true talent. I'm gonna start following you on Instagram and make sure I follow your career, because you're definitely going places. So that concludes our speaker session portion of the presentation. And we're going to move into Q&A, but before doing that, I'm going to pass it over to Rowena to do another poll.
Hi, everyone. I hope that you had as much fun and pleasure out of listening to all of those amazing presentations that I did. So I'm just going to launch a quick post poll to just to make sure that we're just checking to see whether you learned anything from all of this. I certainly did, and I hope you did too.
I'm sad as a host we can't participate, because I would definitely be a yes. I've learned a lot today, like the complexities and just so many different aspects to care work I had never thought of.
Yeah, indeed. And it's certainly a reminder that as we're being busy in our day lives, that it's important to take time for ourselves as well. So it looks like everybody indeed everybody said that yes, they did learn something who participated in the poll. So that's great. You and me both. Okay, I'm going to hand back to our wonderful moderators now.
Okay, we want to just, as we've all said, thank you very much for attending so far. Don't drop off yet. Don't forget, I mentioned earlier, there is a chance to be a winner at this event. That's coming up later, but for now, we're going to take up some of the questions that we've had as we've been going through the presentations. A lot of the questions have been answered on the live portion of it. If you're able to see that, you can easily read through, but we're gonna answer some of the ones that haven't been answered yet. Some of the questions that were dropped in the chat boxes before people started putting them in the Q&A. And we're gonna start from the very beginning, from the very first speaker. So Dr. Ahmad has the floor for this first question. And I'm gonna read it out here because I don't expect you to start looking for it in the chat. The first question is, in your talk, you highlighted that many people are struggling with mental health during the pandemic. As a psychiatrist, what are a few concrete things people can do to support themselves? So Dr. Ahmad, would you be able to answer that?
Okay, great. Yes. Well, thank you so much for the question. I think it applies to all of us. So like others have mentioned, it's about remembering to look after yourself and prioritizing things that bring you some sense of peace or relief in your life. It could be different things for each person because we're all individuals. But there are certain activities that have been proven to be beneficial to all of us, including, for example, regular physical exercise, taking walks, particularly in green settings, in parks or in nature. Though the pandemic has cut us off from our friends and family in many cases, you can try to do what we're doing today and connect virtually, maintain those contacts. So easy to feel completely isolated and alone. And that in fact is a symptom also of depression, and you tend to want to withdraw. Also with anxiety, you feel like you should just stay at home, it's safer, but sometimes you have to push yourself to just reach out to one person. Send one text message when you're feeling like the walls are closing in, and just say hi, just check in and say, how are you? And they'll reciprocate. And that could be enough to lift you out of that state. So just some thoughts there, but it's basic, look after yourself, exercise, eat healthy if you can, and never be ashamed to seek help.
So thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Though that's some really great concrete advice. I hope everyone's taking note of that. I love that we're getting a lot of concrete advice throughout this presentation. And so our next question goes to Dr. Christabel. We have a question that came through in the chat that are, what are some creative ways to give access or empower women or girls from these underrepresented communities?
Okay, deliberate moves in terms of how we can empower these girls in the communities is to actually go there in the communities. I'll give you a practical example. There was a time I was working in one of the rural areas in Zambia. And the way we connected with the community, what we did was we used the chiefs and chieftainesses within those areas to actually help reach out the wider community because they understand the vastness of the areas that they're in. So we need to take ourselves there. And what we're doing also as Medical Women's Association of Zambia is going and encouraging young underprivileged girls to say they can become doctors. And when we meet someone who tells us that they can be, we actually give them a small pink stethoscope just to encourage and build that seed within them to assure them that they can become anything. There are other things that we also do. We tend to give out like sanitary towels. They seem like basic, simple things to other people, but they go a long way, coming from us who are maybe on the privileged side and seat. So we need to be intentional and take ourselves to the community so that at least whilst they meet and interact with us, they understand that that is what it means to make sure that we are encouraging and we are building a better society. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful answer. Next, we have a question for Dionne Sinclair. The question says, who are the trained experts I can talk to when I feel the need to get the burden off my mind? And I feel this would be perfect for her as this is her field.
It is my field, but I'm not one of the trained experts. The first thing I would say is speak to your family doctor, your health practitioner. They can refer you to a psychiatrist. The great news is that CAMH has an emergency department. 24/7 it's open. If you need to be assessed by a psychiatrist, you come to Emerge, you will be assessed. I'm not saying you will be admitted or treated there on the spot, but they do refer you. There's outpatient clinics. The other place is Access CAMH. Actually, I'll look for it and post that Access CAMH link in the chat, where again, it's one door to many services. Once you click on Access CAMH, it will lead you to where you want to go, which is really good. So you don't have to start searching. You go through the one door, and then depending if it's addictions, different type of mental health services you need, you can go there and look. But start with your family practitioner. If you don't have one, there's walk-in clinics or clinics you can go to. There's nurse practitioners led clinics, and they can refer you on. But without fail, CAMH has an emergency department open 24/7. And other hospitals also, through Emerge, they usually have mental health departments as well. If it's someone, if you have funds, because this is the sad part about mental health care, private therapy costs money. And single moms with kids, sometimes that's not affordable. So if you do have what benefits that can provide that, that's something to look into. But again, start with a family practitioner or a clinic they can refer you on. And there should be free government assistance. I don't have those at the tip of my tongue, but you can always look those up as well.
Thank you, Dionne. That's great advice. When I started therapy, that was like the first step, going to my family doctor. And I remember like crying on the way there, because it's hard to go through that door and ask for help. So thank you. And Dr. Ahmed, you wanted to add on to that?
Yes, if I might. So on the issue of financial support for therapy, I just wanted to add that actually for refugees, there is something called interim federal health coverage that can cover psychotherapy support. So for that vulnerable population, there is this separate stream of funding where you can access psychotherapy. In addition, you are right, Dionne, most therapies, you have to pay out of your own pocket, but some of us who are MDs, including GP psychotherapists or psychiatrists, do psychotherapy that is OHIP covered. It can be hard to access, but it does exist.
Thank you. And the first step, to just confirm, the first step to getting that OHIP coverage is going to your family doctor and getting a referral?
That is correct. The family doctor is the link, yes, to referring on.
Well, thank you both for those concrete steps towards accessing support. Kemi, did you have something you wanted to add?
It's Dr. Adewale that has something to add.
So I'm sorry.
Dr. Adewale, Remi Adewale, she's the one that has a comment.
I'm sorry.
Don't worry. I just wanted to say that also you can access some crisis line. There are so many, if you live in Toronto or GTA and most places in Canada, or wherever you are all over the world, I advise you to talk to people in your social group as well as professionals. There are a lot of community health location centers and crisis line. They're confidential. In some places, they're 24/7, and they are in Toronto here. I can speak to the GTA. They're free, and please reach out. And of course, your healthcare provider could be family doctors, it could be nurse practitioner, it could be your psychologist. Talk to professionals, talk to people in your life, talk to your friends, and don't keep it by yourself. Mental illness is real, and there's no shame, no stigma. Please seek for help.
Yeah, I've put the links to Access CAMH and the Access CAMH referral form in the chat. If you click on the link, and you can save that.
Thank you, Dr. Oloremi. My apologies for that with the Zoom. Sometimes it gets a little bit confusing when you haven't met people in person, so I'm sorry. So thank you everybody for all of that great concrete advice. I'm going to go to one of the questions in the Q&A here from Andrea Barrett, and I believe it was directed to Sandra. And what role can government play? How can we advocate?
Thank you for the question. It's a loaded one, particularly with an election coming up. I definitely think that one of the most significant factors for quality education is relationship, as I alluded to. So recognizing that, you know, hybrid learning was very necessary for the duration of the pandemic. I think that the sooner that we can safely invite children back to school, in person, face-to-face learning, you know, is so valuable in terms of that relationship building. I would be very concerned to see a scenario whereby, you know, we focus on the ease of e-learning and promote e-learning instead of face-to-face learning. And of course, most importantly is to, you know, lobby our government officials to invest in education, because it seems that doesn't seem to necessarily be a priority at all times. And oftentimes, you know, the funding that is so required, particularly in urban settings, is not what it should be. So definitely, you know, hoping for a lot of support, particularly as students are, you know, reintegrating into the classroom, and we're addressing some of the gaps that might have occurred, you know, during the pandemic. And of course, support for mental health services within the schools, since students have really struggled, and some of those, the effects of the isolation that they've experienced and the lack of social contact, some of the effects are not emerging until now. And so more support in terms of funding for mental health support within the schools, I would say.
Thank you so much, Sandra, for that wonderful answer. You found a way to answer a complex question in such an easy to understand way. Thank you so much for that. So the next question is for Rachel. It says here, despite the fact that a lot has been done presently on sex discrimination, or we found that a good percentage of women in some part of the world still feel less because society has sort of wired them to think they are less. Are there practical ways to involve the male folks in this struggle? And I think that really goes to your presentation for today.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, so I think that you're right that the presentation really ties with that. And when we talk about reconciliation, or looking at facilitating change, it's really important to bring on our allies, or individuals who are able to amplify the voices of individuals. So I think it's really important that men, when they get involved, are using their place of privilege in patriarchal societies to be able to amplify the voices of women and empower them.
Thank you so much for that. So here's a lesson there. It's not just women. We are not just the only ones shouting and saying, we need support, we need that help to grow. Men can also do that. And a lot of times they are already in that position of privilege. They can use that voice to empower the women in their lives, their mothers, their sisters, their wives, their friends. Take this chance, celebrate women, empower them however you can. Men are not women, but they're still humans. They can do something. That's another lesson for today. I'm gonna get Tisha to get the next question that we have for Dr. Ahmad.
So for our, oh no, I'm not on mute, sorry. So our next question for Dr. Ahmad is, how do you overcome the challenge of access to resources and the name calling that comes with pushing forward to reverse the sad picture?
This is a really profound problem, and it's a problem right here in a wealthy country like Canada. I feel like even in Toronto, which is extra well-resourced compared to other parts of our country, it's a struggle to access good mental health care and support. But in other parts of this country, there's next to nothing. So I think we need a greater political advocacy. Our politicians are there to help serve us. We often think that we can't approach them, but we can. They are our elected officials. We need to advocate for the resources that we need in our communities. And we need to constantly engage and advocate for better and better services. So that's one thing. The name calling, I feel like it's probably coming from maybe some unfortunate specific experiences you've had that I'm very sorry to hear about. That should not obviously be happening. I'm not sure in what context that has occurred, but do not let others define you, especially when you are asking for what you need. This is another way that women, and especially women of color, are put in our places. We are negated. We are made to feel like problematic individuals just for speaking up, just for asking what we need. And we need to persist. It's unfortunate that it takes this much effort and persistence and perseverance, but it's worth it. And we have to keep going with it. So I'm very sorry for whatever abuse you have endured in this journey. And I hope it's different moving forward.
Thank you so much for that wonderful answer. And that actually rounds up a lot of what we've been talking about and gives us a wonderful summary of all the presentation and the insights we've had into today's topics. And I'm sure you guys have all learned as much as I have. Ask for help when you need to, shout out if you need to get that support. We need to build up ourselves as women and girls right from when we have kids. The kids need to be built up just as much as the guys needs to be built up. And they were building up those kids and ourselves for a better tomorrow, for a better future. And I just want to thank the wonderful presenters again, the performers, for the wonderful songs and the preludes they've given us. It was a nice interlude into all our topics and our serious conversation. So next up, I'm going to invite Mrs. Kemi Oduole, to help us introduce our committee members and just give us a little insight into the people that made this event a reality.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It's so amazing to have people from different parts of the world here. And this event was put together by an amazing team of volunteer women who, though are busy, have taken time out in the past few months, dedicating their time, their resources to seeing that this event is successful. The members of the committee include Dr. Elizabeth Ukumbula, especially from Zambia. She joins us sometimes when she's meant to be sleeping. We have Rowena Pa, that is our tech giant. We have Buki Adeoye, we have Dr. Claudette Holloway, we have Dr. Remi Adewale, those are the committee members, and we have amazing team of volunteers. All the way from Zambia, we have Victoria Sulutongwa, we have Marjorie Mutale. Thank you so much for the hard work you've put into organizing this. We have Michelle Jian, we have Anna Mulutega, and of course we have Anu Oduole. So we really want to say thank you on behalf of the president and the board of Women Focus Canada for taking time to see that we have a successful event today. And of course, we also want to thank our moderators who have seen that we have a seamless presentation today, and that is Tasha Shea and Adu Oduole. Thank you so much. And of course, we really want to say a big shout out to all our presenters today. Oh my God. I have my notes here with me, and please look at my face very well. I'm going to be contacting a lot of you for other events. Honestly, it's an honor for you to have accepted this invitation. You've done justice to the team. You've given us insightful conversations, which we definitely continue. You've given us tips to make us go on. You know, I've learned that it's okay not to be okay. You know, it's okay to ask for help. Two people bring up a child, or in a context where two people are parenting a child, then the two must take care of the children. You know, I've learned that it's good to establish boundaries without feeling guilty. And oh my God, I've learned that you move away from a table where respect is not being served. Oh God, I've learned so much today. And another thing I learned, which has been resonating in me, and which is like a rope that's linked all our presentation with today. Dr. Dionne wrote something in the comment. She said, you cannot share from an empty cup. And that is awesome. You know, women are seen to be super women here and there, but permit yourself to take care of yourself. If you don't fill up your cup, you can't be a caregiver to all those around you. We continue to generate this discussion. We continue to fight for women, even as we see ourselves as one, no matter our tribe, our color. Women are beyond amazing. It's so good to know that. And for amazing participants, our entertainers, we thank you so much. And our participants, oh my God, we have participants from India, Jamaica, Nigeria, Zambia, Germany, Bangkok, Australia. From the UK, we have London, Nottingham. From US, we have Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Colorado, New York. From Canada, we have Toronto, Oshawa, Richmond Hill, St. Catharines, Calgary, Saskatchewan, Caledon, Alberta. Oh my God, this is amazing. I really want to thank everyone for taking their time. And I also want to give a shout out to Adiola Fayehun, who also made this announcement of this program on our show. And she's been able to reach a lot of people to bring them here today. We say thank you to you. So I really want to say thank you to everybody for coming to celebrate the International Women's Day 2020 with us. And don't forget, the conversation does not end here. We continue this conversation. We continue to love ourselves as women. We continue to create space for ourselves as women. We continue to speak out when we need to speak out. And thank you very much, everyone, for being here today. Take care of yourself. Bye.
Thank you so much, Dr. Keme. I'm going to just one last thing before we leave is we have to announce the winners of the prize. So our 4 winners of the raffle are Marie Edefua, Reham Manasur, Anna Blown, and Grace Ogunmekan. And they should send their contact details to womenfocuscanada@gmail.com for their gifts. So thank you, everybody, and congratulations to those winners, and have a happy International Women's Day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thank you. Bye-bye.